Welcome everyone to Out of the Garage. This is our AceAI webinar series where every fortnight we either put a spotlight on a community member. Last time we had Akshat, and today we have with us Priya. So we either put a spotlight on a community member or we invite a founder to speak with us. It's also an opportunity for us to open up our own minds and see how some of the things that they are working on and some of the problems that they are trying to address actually can have an impact either at our workplace, or if we are interested in building something around the space and we have some questions, then it allows us to sort of get a better perspective and learn a lot more. And the idea of doing these sessions for the community is very simple. It allows us to come together and ask questions freely. It's meant to be interactive. With that, let me formally introduce our speaker today, Priya. Priya M Nair is the co-founder and CEO of Zwag AI. And Zwag is basically an innovative startup that builds interpretation technology. The vision of Zwag is very simple. They're trying to bridge the gap between humans and machines through interpretation technology. I won't speak a lot about Matra because I do want Priya to talk about it, but I did speak a little bit about it on LinkedIn and everywhere else that I get an opportunity to speak about inclusion in AI. One is, how do you make AI more affordable and accessible? And that's one aspect of it. But I think an oft ignored aspect is, how are the AI models even trained? Do they even understand cultural nuances? Um, am I accommodating for the users that I seek to include right upfront when I'm actually building my models out? And that's really an problem, an aspect of the problem is what Priya is trying to address. So with that, I'll welcome you formally, Priya, and thank you so much for making the time. Thank you to each one of you who's made the time to attend today's webinar. I'll hand the mic over to you, Priya.
Sasha, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to talk to people that share your vibe and understand what you're doing, and also it's great to share your passion project with people that are keen to understand what we're doing. I do have a set of slides because we are going to talk for an hour, and I thought it is good to have something pretty for you guys to look at. Yeah, let me know if you can see the screen. Yeah. Can you see the screen? Yeah, okay, great. So Revati mentioned a bit about what we are working on. We call it the world's first universal interpretation model, and we have named it Matra. Matra as in mother, which is the root, Matra is the root word in Sanskrit and also in a lot of Indo-Proto-European languages as well. It means mother. So I will, in a bit, probably by the end of this session, you would understand why we are calling it mother. But we did set out to solve one of the biggest blind spot in current AI architecture. I think it's easier to show you with an example immediately as to what we are trying to solve. So this is Nipuna. He is my co-founder. He is originally from Sri Lanka. He is also our chief innovation officer. The total population in Sri Lanka is about 23 million, and their official language, as some of you might know, is Sinhalese. And it's spoken by 92% of the population, and only about 23% speak English at all. He prompted ChatGPT-5, which is the latest generative AI model, by OpenAI, and he asked a very simple question. So translate the phrase, "I moved the chair." So now that red circle that you see is a missing word. So it is a syntax error. And the word that I've underlined, kursiya, is not even a Sinhalese word. So looks like ChatGPT-5 didn't really understand or did not have the word exactly, and looked at the location or something and then clubbed a Hindi word and then added a suffix. So that's how kursiya came about, and that's not even a Sinhalese word. So that is a semantic error. So you see, just like that, 23 million people are misrepresented and misinterpreted by current AI. Now, extrapolate this number to other countries where people speak languages other than English. India, some of a lot of Southeast Asia, Africa. Now, our question was, why does this happen, right? The AI today uses language as a mere tool of communication or even as a tool to process huge data sets. It fails to recognize that language is the foundation of intelligence. So, language is what shapes how we perceive, understand, express, and connect with the world around us, right? Human intelligence, as well as artificial intelligence, begins with language. But today's AI has an English centric bias problem. We're not just talking about linguistic bias. The AI we are building today doesn't reflect the linguistic and the cultural diversity. Today's AI speaks a single dialect of intelligence. That's the problem. It fails to reflect as I said, the problem here is that AI's brain today is overwhelmingly trained in English data sets. As you can see, the data more than 20, more than 90, almost 90% of AI's data set is in English, while only English. Now, because of this, concepts and emotions and the reasoning styles from non-English cultures are not only misrepresented, but they are often misinterpreted too. As you can see, the data speaks for itself. Now, this is more than a bias; it is a huge blind spot. As you can see, non-English speakers are systematically being excluded from the so-called AI revolution. And this is like the English non-English speakers are interacting with AI as second-class citizens. Some of these things that you see on your screen might appear to be small, but when AI becomes widespread, in business, in legal, in medical sectors, and governments having AI ministers to create policies using AIs and calling your governments AI first and AI native governments. When AI becomes widespread in defense, and most importantly, when AI starts teaching our children and educating them in the classrooms, then the bias and the gap gets amplified. So that is why this is a real important problem. The perspective biases about your, historical, social, and political concepts, and the risk of cultural homogenization of the global South. These are all important aspects uh, of why we started to rethink the current capabilities and architecture of current large language models. Now, I pitched this on a number of platforms. And one of the most important questions that I get, a frequent question I get, is why don't you think multilingual LLMs are solving this already? The answer is no, because multilingual LLMs are like shake jars, because there's a lot of shared attention mechanisms that happens. There's a lot of shared parameter space that happens. Now, there is no denying the fact that the training has improved, but the core structure hasn't evolved, and the fundamental architectural challenges remain. Well, listen, meaning is not universal, right? Summer in England, Shakespeare's summer is pleasant, but summer in India and the deserts here isn't. So concepts like honor, kinship, or humor are deeply rooted in the cultural encoding of each language. But what happens with today's AI is that it forces them all through the narrow lens of English equivalence. Now, what is English equivalence problem? A lot of you might already know, but see, whenever a concept that is not familiar to the English language or structure or understanding, the AI that is trained, the AI is actually trained to look at the nearest approximation or the equivalent word within that dominant language structure. And that's why you saw in ChatGPT, in Sinhalese, the dominant language there was Hindi. And Sinhalese comes from a combination of Sanskrit and Pali. So it just created a word called kursi, and then gave it a prefix, a suffix, right? So that is an example of a approximation or equivalence to the dominant language structure. Um, when the attention is spread in a multilingual model across multiple languages, you have a capacity dilution in some languages affecting the performance of some languages. And another problem is also the cross-lingual interference in the multilingual LLMs. I mean, as I said, it's a shake jar. 90% you've got English, and then all the other languages are squeezed in. When there is the various languages use shared routing space, then often there is an interference between familiar words and concepts. For example, in German, the word gift means poison, but in English, it means something entirely different, right? So often leading to the interferences and inaccurate output when people are conversing in German and English, probably. So these are some of the problems that we noticed. As part of our research, we compare the core linguistic features in languages around the world and how they are represented in current LLMs. So clearly, current models do not capture a lot of these parameters. We are specifically interested in looking at the cultural encoding. There's a cultural blueprint, which we see is largely missing. Now, cultural encoding in a language refers to the way in which a culture's value, beliefs, norms, and worldwide views are embedded into its language structure, vocabulary, idioms, metaphors, and the communication patterns. It's what makes a language more than just a system of grammar and words. It carries the cultural code of people who use it. In current LLMs, it's largely missing. So in short, current AI mimics language, but it doesn't really understand or harness the true power of it. Now, when we speak about languages, we are not just talking about dominant languages. There are languages that are not dominant or widely used, but are very, very powerful. There is a consensus between even programmers that English is a very weak language in terms of structure and everything. You know, people say that probably German is a better language to use to program. So you see that creates. This means that it's not just a language gap, right? It's a cognitive void as well. So current AI not only has a dominant language bias, just like I said, it has an imposed technological and structural limitations induced by the English structure problem as well. And the architecture of the current AI is fundamentally misaligned with how the world actually thinks, how us humans actually think. And this is what we are calling the biggest blind spot. And now, why are we calling this a blind spot? Because when we talk to a lot of people and try to explain, especially to investors and also to some of the people that are interested, they ask a lot of questions as to, is this that big a problem? It is because it is a problem and it has an impact, as I mentioned. And when everybody is trying to race to the AGI finish line, and when AI gets widely implemented, there is also a problem of these languages not being preserved, the cultures not being preserved, so on and so forth. But you don't realize it, and that's why it's a blind spot. Like anything in the blind spot, you don't realize it is a problem until it sneaks up on you, and it's too late to do anything about it. And the global research community agrees. Studies and publications all over the world confirm that AI does internalize the dominant languages. Even when it generates responses in multiple different languages, it does have a dominant language problem. The research community agrees that cultural encoding is lost in translation, and these are all the recent papers from the AI community. So this kind of prompted us to explore a different approach to align AI architecture with human intelligence. So we set out to redesign the current AI architecture and create a universal semantic framework. The result was Matra, the world's first universal interpretation model. Now, this is the proprietary approach we have developed. We are creating a universal language layer. And when I say universal language layer, I don't want you to think of it like, okay, it's another language we are injecting. It's a monolinguistic, large language model we are building. We are building a middleware. So by using advanced and adaptive machine learning techniques, we create a language layer that can seamlessly map to any linguistic structure in the world. So this enables us to capture the collective richness of global languages, making AI more aligned and versatile and contextually accurate. I'm not going to go into too much detail about the technicalities of it, but Matra acts as a middleware, as I said, between the input and the attention layers of the current LLM. So most of us would know that attention layer is that part of an AI model that decides which words or meanings to pay attention to when it is understanding context. Now, Matra reshapes how this works by using the missing linguistic features of global languages that I showed you and preventing the model from defaulting to a different dominant internal language. This means that we are not competing against LLMs or we are not creating another large language model, but we are enhancing the end capabilities of the current large language model. So this is why Matra has the potential to become the universal semantic protocol for AI, just like the transmission control protocol or internet protocol became the communication protocol for the internet, and it facilitates adaptive meaning exchange so that diverse AI systems can interoperate. We also get a question, so how is this different from you have the Arabic large language model here, which is called JS. In India, you have Sarvam and you have Kritrim, and then in English, of course, you have GPT and ChatGPT, and Chinese, you have Qwen, right? These models, of course, these are large language models, and Matra is not a large language model. It is a meta-linguistic framework along with a computational engine and the adaptive attention layer. And we believe that once this becomes a universal semantic layer and becomes sort of a TCP IP, it will be able to prevent the silos and the fragmentation that you see in other dominant language models. This is the high-level architecture of universal interpretation model. Again, this is very high level. There are three core pillars. One is the universal meta-linguistic framework. It is a linguistic layer that can describe any language in the world. Now, computational engine, it serves as sort of a navigator that helps to direct input to the right attention layer. And then there is, of course, the adaptive attention layer, where the bias in the transformer, in the attention layer of the transformer, is removed based on the universal meta-linguistic framework. I'm oversimplifying this, but I just wanted to give you an idea as to what it is. I would like to dwell on the meta-linguistic aspects a bit, because people often confuse meta-linguistic with the multilingual LLMs and stuff, right? So meta-linguistic basically refers to the ability to think and talk about language, its structure and how it relates to culture. It involves skills like understanding grammar, word meaning, and how contextual influences influences communication. And this allows the individuals to analyze and control their own and others' language use. So metalinguistics as a field of study in linguistics, it kind of examines the relationship between language and other elements of culture. It explores how people use language, and when they use it in certain ways, is there sarcasm involved, so on and so forth. Now, the problem with the current AI architecture is that it does not learn any language like like a linguist, right? What is sitting inside the computational engine is an English linguist that is trying to make sense of thousands of languages. It doesn't learn any of the other languages. It just pretends to know and speak beautifully, but it really does not understand the language. Now, the question is, why is this a problem, or is this even a problem, right? See, building a semantic interpretation layer for each and every individual language in the world is impractical and impossible. So the best solution is that is possible is a universal meaning native language layer that can process meaning across all languages and cultures. So, and that layer is Matra. I just wanted to show the progress that multilingual AI has made and why we think what are the enhancements that Matra has brought about. It's a bit technical, but still, you can see on the left-hand side that even in 2025, multilingual LLMs do smart routing between processing modes, but in all of the LLMs, semantic preservation or semantic validation is considered to be a feature or an afterthought. But in Matra, it becomes part of the architecture. The reasoning capabilities are applied to meaning that hasn't been flattened to English. And, it retains the semantic integrity across all input types. And as I said, unlike other AI systems in the market now, where semantic verification is mostly done as a tool or an added feature, Matra's semantic verification happens at the core architecture level and not at the application or API level. Well, one of the takeaways I promised was that how can this become a profitable business proposition, and how blind spots that we identify can help us build a business, right? So what we are looking at is that Matra as a semantic layer will become an essential infrastructure for every AI system globally. That's what we believe. Why we are saying is this because of the push that we see in GCC, India, Africa, and the global South in general to develop AI that is culturally intelligent. We were in one of the calls where we had the CEO of Smart Africa talk about, he said something very interesting. He said, we don't need powerful AI, we need useful AI that understands our value and culture. Unfortunately, as I mentioned, the current architecture, AI architecture, is not intrinsically built to do that, to understand different languages and hence the cultural encoding and things like that. So AI also, the AI governance, ethical and responsible AI these days demand the reduction of bias in AI systems, and but as I said, the current AI architecture is not intrinsically equipped to do this. And so, as the first mover solving this problem, we get to unlock massive ROI in foundational technology. So this is what I believe makes Matra one of the most promising pre-seed AI projects right now. And our intention is also at this point to showcase the concept, to showcase the architecture, prove the map, publish it, and attract key players to buy us off. Now, why we are doing this is because this is something that is a problem that needs to be solved in the next 1 to 2 years. And it within that short window it will make maximum impact. Probably after that it might not be a problem, because once the world models by Meta and all these people, all these other major players come in, which we believe again it might take more than 3 to 5 years probably, then Matra would become, I wouldn't say obsolete, but it will have a different role to play. So we are already seeing a lot of micro acquisitions by OpenAI, Meta, and XAI as part of their race to get to AGI first. And so this also explains why we are trying to publish, and there's an urgency in publishing our findings, and we hope to publish it within the next 3 months. Well, this is us, Zwag AI. People ask us, why do you think you are the right people to solve this? We don't know if we are the right people to solve this, but only I say there are three things that make us believe that we want to do it, or we will do it. One is that the concern that we have enough coming from India, my co-founder coming from Sri Lanka, and the entire team based out of Global South, and seeing how a lot of the other non-English speakers and ourselves are misrepresented and misinterpreted. And as parents of Gen Z, Gen Alpha, and Gen Beta, we are concerned about how is AI going to be implemented, and how is AI going to interact with our children, and what happens to our language and the culture. Now, why is it important to know your roots and culture? It is not about nationalism and things like that. It's more about, unless you know where you come from, you will not be able to stand up against what is happening to you, right? You should know where you come from. You should know what your culture stands for, what your history is, and things like that. So when there is a cultural homogenization that happens when with English cognitive bias and things like that, it is a problem for the Global South. It has to be a problem for the Global South. So yeah, so that is one concern. So concern is one thing that pushed us to this. Another thing is passion, which is like, we were okay to step out of this mad race of agentic AI, and everybody's trying to build another large language model. We were okay to step out of it. It was a collective decision, and saying that, okay, see, let's give this a try and see how this works in like for 6 months to a year. And if that doesn't work, there's nothing stopping us in going back to building another agentic AI. So we did have the passion to say that we are not going to join the rat race. We are just going to focus on this, and we are happy, really happy that we did. And the third one is absolute delusion that we can do it, we have to do it, and we will do it. And this is, in fact, not the first time we are doing it. Way back, Zwag was formally incubated in Dubai and registered in 2022, but we've been working on it since 2020, late 2020 and 2021, when nobody was talking about large language models, nobody was talking about ChatGPT, and we built a specific GCC specific foundational large language model. It was the first foundational model in the GCC, way before Falcon AI, Falcon LLM by TI came into existence. And this happened because we set out to build a conversation AI driven chat, social app social app for Gen Zers so that they could find what they wanted to find easily. At that point, when we started talking about, people didn't understand. Our tagline was, "Don't just Google it, Zwag it." So you know what we were trying to do. It was sort of, now it is easy to explain to people what we are trying to build by saying that you see Meta AI avatars in WhatsApp, and that exactly was our concept. So now people say that, oh, you were visionaries, you were too early for that time, and it's fine. I was a first time founder. I was intimidated by the competition and the lack of funding. We didn't find the product market fit, but all of that contributed to Matra today. And I think this time we have struck gold. There's also something that I follow as a philosophy that, when during gold rush, it is most prudent to kind of go and sell shovels and pickaxes and instead of digging gold, because that's how during the Californian gold rush a lot of people really made money. So the blueprint, as if you look at the AI entire thing as a pyramid, starting with data annotation and then structuring and the infrastructure and the LLMs and things like that, the lower you go in that pyramid, the better chances there are that you're solving a more fundamental and foundational problem. So that's basically identifying problems that are too early for the market, and you do get the early mover advantage, but at the same time, if you're too early, of course, there are problems associated with that as well. This is the team that is building Matra. Of course, I've told you about my co-founder, but currently, this is for phase one, where we are building the meta-linguistic framework. We need more of the linguists, and we do have a quantum physicist from the Pittsburgh University who's working on the computational engine. We have a middleware expert who's helping us build and integrate everything as a middleware. So very specific and very specialized set of people that we have on board. I will conclude by saying that why I believe this is a TCP/IP moment for AI, and it's very foundational, is because transmission, TCP and IP is a suite of communication protocols that standardized how data is exchanged between computers over a network, right? So in the 70s and the 80s, it didn't just translate data between different systems, it created a universal protocol that preserved the integrity of information regardless of the underlying hardware or software. So now in 2025, that's exactly what Matra is doing. But for semantic understanding, to understand different languages, different cultures, irrespective of which language the large language model is predominantly trained on. Now we are enhancing the most foundational aspect of AI's brain, language, in which the diverse data sets and knowledge exist. So just like the internet couldn't exist without TCP/IP, we believe that global AI, inclusive AI, truly cannot exist without Matra. So as you can see, we are on a mission that's sometimes even larger than us. We are on a mission that is the need of the hour as well, but also we believe it is inequitable. It is inevitable for an equitable AI that accurately represents the 8 billion of us. That's about it.
Wow, Priya, like timed it. When
Thank you. I don't know if it's just me, but I can't.
But are you guys still able to hear me?
Yeah. Lost you a bit, but I think I can hear you now.
Okay, actually. You can just leave it or something. All right. All right. So Priya, thank you so much. It was just fantastic. But we're not done yet. We usually time this in 30 minutes. We allow the speaker to speak and show their product. And I know Priya already heads up that Priya is obviously like, I think, a very proud member of another community that we have, which in AI, which we've now recently branded. We've just rebranded Wow AI because we think women are wonderful and they're just amazing. But Priya, thank you again for doing this. I'll open the floor for some questions, and I also have some questions. I do know that, for example, you are looking at raising funding, and there have been like certain questions that have come your way. Just for the purpose of the understanding of the community, because they also, we have set builders within the community and several new ones that are actually trying to build something, which they think solve very specific and some of social impact as well. So just if you were to give us community insider tips, what are the 2 or 3 sort of questions investors are asking for? That's part A, from you when they see this pitch. And part B would be, are they even considering looking at alternate metrics of responsible AI, or is it still, largely lip service?
I'll
Yeah,
answer
you
the
want to make it.
second question. Yeah, I will answer the second question first. The straightforward answer is no. Investors are really, at least the ones that I've met, aren't really, and it's always been the case, right, Revati? They're not really looking at the aspects of responsible AI and how responsible your solution is, what's the kind of impact that it makes from a responsible, ethical, inclusive standpoint. They are definitely concerned about numbers and how big an impact this would bring and how early they can exit and whether this would bring 10x or 20x or 50x or 100x returns. So institutional investors especially don't even, I don't want to get started on talking about that at all. But we also understand that we are too early for them. But even for others who have proven up to billions of downloads of their models and things like that, they are also struggling. So but again, our total raise is $250,000, but out of which immediately we are raising 50 for the proof of concept. We have already raised 20, and God willing, by the end of this month, which is end of this week, we are hoping to close out the remaining 30 as well. And people who came in were friends and family who just looked at it and said that, okay, this seems to be a good important thing, and if you are saying it's important, they also know me, they trust me. So that's how the initial checks definitely came in. Once the first one came in, then the second one was easy, and it was easier to talk. A lot of people also didn't initially, because we didn't have anything to show. People believed that, okay, this is just high level concept and we are just, as I mentioned, delusional people trying to solve something really big, and without the actual resources or anything or know how to do it. And that's when all these researchers came in, and now we do have an early prototype of the computational engine, the meta linguistic framework, and we know it's working, and we have definitely come up across something. We have definitely invented or done something that's really foundational, will have far-reaching implications that we are confident of now. And then the others have started to come in as well. The first question, the kind of typical question, especially when they see this, one is, of course, aren't multilingual LLMs solving this problem already? And I have explained extensively that multilinguistic capabilities, that's just a modality, whereas we are looking at baking meta-linguistic understanding into the architecture so that you don't have to go and solve it for every single language structure and root language that comes in. Another question very often that we hear is, if this is such an important thing and if it's so impactful, why isn't OpenAI, Meta, or Gemini, or Google or Anthropic not solving this? Or they have immense resources and everything at their disposal. Why aren't they solving this? I'm sure a lot of people ask you similar questions as well, in the sense that what you're building, you have competition in the market. So then how is it that they are not solving this problem, and how is it that you are solving this problem? See, when it comes to specifically with Matra, we often say that, see, we are not building another large language model, and I hope that's clear from what we were explaining. We're not building another large language model. We are clearly building something that enhances the large language model. So we are not building against, or we're not trying to outcompute OpenAI or anybody else. We are building something that's part of the ecosystem. Now, can OpenAI build it or somebody else build it? Of course, they can build it. But if you look at what they are doing. Every company, Meta or OpenAI or Anthropic, they are focusing on certain aspects. Okay, now let's look at AGI, AI's brain, right? If you want to build AGI, you need to create or replicate the human brain. The human brain has different modules, right? The language, the reasoning aspects, the memory, and everything. All of this has to come together to build an AGI's perfect brain as to replicate the human capabilities. Now, not everybody is, so different companies are focusing on different aspects of this. One, Meta is focusing on world models, right? So that the AI can see and understand the world like humans are doing, understanding the world. Anthropic is looking at systems as to how is they're looking at the neural networks, which areas are lighting up when a certain language comes in or a word comes in, and those aspects. And OpenAI, as we know, is investing heavily on their existing models, Sora, and they're also investing heavily in infrastructure, the Stargate projects, and so on and so forth. And of course, with them opening up adult content in ChatGPT and Sora, obviously, they are big on commercializing and cashing in on what they have built already. We also see a increasing trend of micro acquisitions, right? In the past few months, Meta AI, I think, acquired an 8-month-old startup called Waveform for $106 billion or something. What it does is to understand the emotions in speech. To the minutest of the way, the spectrum, angry, sarcastic, and all those things. So that was a micro acquisition. What we are solving is a micro problem that probably is not small, is not big enough for them to look at, but for us, it's a big thing to do. And within this short, that's why we are also keen to kind of get acquired, prove this, and get our IP and get acquired. So these are some of
I'm
the
just going
questions we
to,
get very often.
yeah, thank you so much for that. I'm just going to take a show of hands in the meanwhile if somebody has questions, or you can just leave it on the chat if you're not going to be able to come on camera or not speak. So if you can have some of the questions in chat, or you can just unmute and also ask. You made a very interesting point, Priya, about the exit options as well. But one of the things that I wanted to ask you is, one of the things that we always look at doing, and especially with founders as part of the community, is one, how can we help? Is also a question to ask. Because it's not really opened to a lot of B2C users from in a way that, in a manner that you can have a bunch of us pilot test, use feedback.
Yeah.
But hypothetically speaking, and therefore my one question would be, what would be the simplest, lowest, easiest point of integration? Because we also have a lot of product managers here. But what would be the simplest point of implementation, integration? Don't need to answer it now. If we need your tech team on it, we can always give the answer to the community later. But that's something that I'm just leaving with you. But the other thing is also in terms of if we were to use it as a community, you can actually open it up. And I'm sure, and we can maybe just do thumbs up to support Priya, to just, the lot of us who are here will obviously become your beta test users. But what would you want to measure at the end of it? Let's say all of us sign on, we become beta test users. What would be your top 3 metrics that you would actually want to showcase? Would it be an English versus vernacular? Because that doesn't really fit everything, because we're also talking about nuance of language,
Yeah.
which is really Matra's differentiation point. And I'm not sure if everybody gets it, that this is not just vernacular AI. Here, we're
Yeah.
actually talking about the fact that people think and emote a lot of times in their mother tongues, whether they like it or not. It takes me back to that story. There's a Tenali Raman story and there's an Akbar Birbal story as well, right? Where when you're in trouble, you're in all probability going to speak your mother tongue. That is one. But there's a lot of cultural nuances, which is intelligence that is being accumulated over several generations. And this is decades and centuries that we're talking about, of intelligence that is also available in cultural context. Why which I don't know. So are you looking, did anybody get interested and say, okay, does this give me better consumer insights? Did you ever have conflict internally saying, do I do B2B? Do I do B2C? Like, what is the GTM on this?
No, so we were kind of always clear about the shelf life of what we are doing. As I mentioned, when the world models come into picture and a lot of other work that's happening, um, it might not be prudent for us to hold on to this and then say that, okay, we are going to go into the licensing route and the API integration route, and we are going to sell it to tier 3 companies and look for clients for integration, because it's a middleware, right? It has to be integrated with whatever technology or whatever models that people are creating. Our focus now is definitely to create this and then approach the key players like OpenAI and Gemini and Anthropic to run and integrate Matra within their large language models and see for themselves what kind of enhancement is being done. Now, early tests with what we have done now is to use Tamil, Telugu, and then another language, entirely different language, Sinhalese, create data sets and train the computation engine and see how much of consistency in tone, morphology, meaning, and all these things Matra is able to maintain across intrinsically different language sets. So with the 10K, 20K that we have raised, this is what we have been able to do. Now, as more money comes in, more linguists will come in, they will generate more data sets. And then we are able to scale to other languages, very, very different languages, because only then we will be able to look at the blue score, and there are certain matrices that we have that we are trying to achieve to measure whether this is a success or not. Unlike how the other large language models, how the other AI systems learn, the way Math learns is a bit different. It doesn't learn gradually with lots of the more data sets that you add, or over the period of time through long shot learning and things like that. That's not how Math learns. It learns like Lego kind of structure, right? The more modules or the features, the linguistic or the meta-linguistic features that we add, it kind of exponentially improves and learns. So that is the kind of secret sauce that we have developed. It all comes down to the kind of data sets, and it's not traditional data sets that we are building either. To answer your question about the community, because it's how the community can help us. One is if there are any linguists out there, computational linguists especially, who would want to work with us, we are looking for people with diverse language capabilities: Arabic, Swahili, Japanese, root languages, a lot of the Southeast Asian languages and things like that. So if you are one of them with interest in computational linguistics, please reach out to me. And at this point, there's no API or licensing that is coming out. But that said, I would say that even when the data sets would be our IP, and that will be our proprietary information, the universal meta-linguistic framework will definitely come out as an open source framework, because that's what will help a lot of people to use that approach and then say that, oh, this has an applicability in what I'm building, right? And then use that open source model, framework to build your own solutions. But that, I don't think, will happen in another 3 to 5 months. So please be patient. Please keep supporting. I'll keep updating you about each and every milestone that we are crossing.
Thanks a ton. Okay, last opportunity for somebody to unmute and ask, or leave us a chat. If there are no questions, then we'll wait for 30 seconds. And Priya and I can keep chatting, of course, like for hours together, but we're not going to do that on video with a whole lot of people. So, any further questions from anyone, or any observations, comments? How did you like the session?
I see something in chat. I don't know if there are questions. No.
Is that a question? No.
No, there are no questions.
Yeah. All right. Fantastic. So,
Quick question from my side. We're talking about text-based language for now, or are we also talking voice?
So currently we are talking about the text-based features. because even that is missing, and it will come as a surprise to it did come as a surprise to a lot of us that a lot of the linguistic features, basic text, basic language features that should be there is missing. So we have started with that, and because the large set of data sets available is in text form, that's what we are focusing on. And as I said, the next levels would be adding the other features like the cultural encoding and looking at speech, the other modalities and things like that. Ideally, we should be able to integrate speech, symbols, visuals, and everything. But that is a vast project that I think is beyond us as well at this point. But our mission right now is to build this universal major linguistic framework and leave it out there for people to start building on.
Interesting. There is this platform, I'm not sure if you know of, which is stage.com, and they have built the Netflix of India for dialects. And given that they're been able to monetize in India very vastly, I think
Yeah,
solutions like that will really progress and help in that direction.
definitely, definitely.
In fact, I've been pushing Priya to take it one step further with, whenever she's ready, we're going to merge it with Sunbol so that we also do like the video where we can do, because English does have some with me, which is, the m, b, p. When you see it on video, you can't really make out whether it's m, b, p, those kind of words,
Mhm,
right? And
mhm.
some of the diphthongs especially, and vernaculars. In fact, the older cultural languages actually have many more of those. So, it's fantastic that Sunaina brought it up, because content itself nowadays in those in many languages is dying, and the languages itself are dying a natural death, which means that we do have a deceleration of intelligence. So more than anything else, I think this is also, I don't know if in your pitch, Priya, you're also talking about the preservation of of the human culture that can happen through this. And we're going to
Yeah,
have another founder with us very soon, Ishan Chugh. He's currently pursuing his PhD at INSEAD, and he's an MIT grad. But they're actually building a knowledge model, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. But I see a lot of work that you guys can do together, because they're building almost like a Nalanda for the world
nice,
regarding
nice.
that. That's going to be a fantastic one. But we have Mohammed Mohsin Qureshi, who's raised his hand, so we'll bring you in now.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah. Thanks for the session. I was listening to you, Priya and Revati. Actually, just wanted to understand how is the investing space and how is the AI first product space in UAE basically, or even like how things are there for the whole Southeast Asian markets as you are being one of the founders and you're cross collaborating and stuff. So, how are things as of now?
There is a lot of investment happening, institutional investment, VC investment happening in AI infrastructure. There's a lot of money that's coming in for AI infrastructure development specifically. There are a lot of data centers being built because of the sovereignty and the data governance rules over here. So, and then of course, UAE is trying to position itself as the AI startup capital of the world. So they are attracting a lot of startups to come here. They're promoting a lot of startups to start here. So for anybody that's wanting to start up in UAE, coming from other places in here, this is the right time probably, because they will welcome you with both hands. But then beyond that, I have found it very difficult to find investors for things, especially for early stage. If you're in early stage or pre-stage,
Mhm.
unless you have enough traction to show, unless you have enough partnerships to show, it's very difficult to get people to open their purse and give you money, especially
Are there
VCs. And
any Are there any accelerator programs that you are aware about that we can start up?
uh, a lot of accelerator and a lot of incubator programs are there.
absolutely.
Sorry.
Sorry, Priya, there's a lag at my end, so I couldn't hear you for a bit. That's why I was thinking of jumping in for that answer and basically saying that yes, there are, and we can send a lot of information back into the. So just ask the questions in the WhatsApp groups, and we'll be more than happy to share a list. I think this is actually a good idea, Priya. I think maybe we can put a list together in the WOW group and then share it with the other groups.
Sure.
Yeah,
sure,
is it
sure.
something that we can? Yeah, we'll do
Yeah.
that, Mosi. I've made a note of it. We'll share it across if everybody's interested and that will help people. We can most certainly collate something.
Also, like
Yeah.
one more question, like a simple follow up. That's it. Like I was just exploring a lot of things. Like in Indian space, also people are moving more towards like there's a foundational models, right? Servom and other guys have already worked upon, right? So there is a lot of implications in the application layer of sort of things, right? Like people are making CRM kind of stuff with like 11 labs and all, right? So I'm saying like how do you think that as these things are getting adapted in the Indian space, like are there any markets already that or like there are founders who are doing it in the for the that particular region, and also like mainly more on the AI first products. So how do you think like how they are moving on? Because like I'm not seeing a lot of people like them are surviving in the because sustainability is an issue for them. So any thoughts of you like you have faced in your experience?
No, in the UAE market, I can say that now there is a I wouldn't say saturation, but there are a lot of companies that are doing a lot of the similar stuff, especially at the application level. You will find a lot of products that are built on top. I don't want to use the word wrapper. Um, uh, on existing models and things like that. There are enterprise editions, enterprise versions of various things that are built. It is not about building these products or anything, but the distribution and the go-to-market is a big problem over here. Largely, a lot of clients that you would have, large clients that you really want to engage, are either private sector, are either government or semi-government clients, and there are government run or endorsed companies here, like the Co 42s and your G 42s and your Mubadala, the AIQs and the TIIs, and then the university partnerships that they get into. A lot of government projects and everything go to them, and some of them come through the incubators and accelerators run by the government as well. So this is my first hand experience. I've been here for 20 years and in the startup space for 5 years almost. So this is what I've seen. It is a very competitive market over here. I don't know how you guys, when you look at the Middle East, especially UAE, see this market, but as a person who's been in the thick of it and is in the thick of it, I would say that this is a very smart bunch. There is a lot of a smart bunch of people. Whatever you're thinking outside, that it's already been thought and even being built as well.
All right. I think we are just in time. We'll take maybe like one last question if there is from anyone
Yeah,
else.
yeah.
And
Thank you so much, Priya, and would love to know more on your founder's diary on the same, right? Your ideas and insights. We can just create an MOM and share along with the share details if possible. That will be a great remark and a great, resource to have. Thank you. Thank.
Rasha,
yeah,
thank you.
sure, unmute and say what you need to say. This is like the perfect ending to the webinar. So you say something and then I'll thank Priya and we'll wrap up the day. Come in, Yasir.
Hi, Priya and Revati.
Hi.
Hi. Yeah, just I want to say because I was a little late to join, so just I'm wishing you the team, Zwag team, and Priya all the best. I think Priya, you remember I'm Mohammed Yasir. We used to connect. You got it?
Yes, 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 yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much for joining.
Yeah. Yeah, just to say all the best. So I didn't, I missed your part, your session. Just to say all the best, and I hope, I think a couple of days back we spoke about embedding model which I developed, and I shared my experience how you are doing such a project in Matra, like how it is matching. So that's the like I just want to join the meeting, but I was a bit late, so I couldn't get more about what you have
Yeah.
shared. Yeah,
You can see the recording and then we'll connect again if you have any questions.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. And Rashi's also left a very lovely message for you, Priya. She says, great session.
Thank you.
And
Thank you,
all the
Rashi.
best. And I think Parvez has also said, great session. I got to know new things on Matra. And that's the whole idea of doing this webinar, to get the word out. Like the first people that should know is the community that you're a part of. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. And I'm sure a lot more will actually watch the recording. We've actually seen a lot more people watch recordings. I think people just got used to this now. Watch offline, and they'll just consume the content. And if they're me, then they'll consume it at 2x the speed. But thank you, Sunena, for the point that you brought up. And thank you, Brinda, Parvez, CP, Kiran, Nitya, and so many, Yasir, so many of you that joined and stayed for the entire hour. Priya, thank you so much for taking the time out to do this. Again, I'm very excited about this. As somebody who's always been a lover of language, and seen the difference that it makes, because our initial intelligence is developed, and nothing expands your brain capacity in the first 5 years, 6 years, 7 years of your development as language does. And the fact that there is no focus on it, and that we're losing a lot of our identity and our languages around the world, the rich languages around the world, and that more lesser than, I mean, while solutions like Duolingo, I think it's very functional, right? If people want to relocate to another country, is when they jump on Duolingo typically. Like nobody's doing it out of the pure love for learning, and so I think there is great potential, and there's great hope and joy in fueling the love for language and the love for learning. One of which that you're doing, and one of which we are trying to do through Garage Labs. So I couldn't have been a better meeting of the minds for a webinar. So thank you once again, and thank you all of you for
Thank you
joining.
everyone for joining.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nitya,
Thank
for
you so
pulling all
much.
of this together. Really appreciate it. And have a great night. Priya, I know you're also in a couple of more sessions this week. So have great sessions. I'm sure you're going to go out and floor every investor out there. And we're obviously there to say all the good things, because we love what you're doing.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.